Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. My name is Juliette Clark, and I'm your host today. And I'm really excited to talk about sales today because for most of you entrepreneurs and authors, this is not something you think about when you start this business. So before we get started, I want to remind you to go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz, www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com. Find out, are you really ready to publish that book? You may have written it. You may be thinking, I've got to wait for the end for marketing. I don't know what I'm going to do to integrate it into my business. All this is a plan, and you have to have those pieces in place. So don't even think about that publishing piece until you have it. Go over and find out if you're ready. And also, don't forget to go over to our YouTube channel, Super Brand Publishing. All of these podcasts, the video versions are over there. You can see these are real people. I'm just not like a ventriloquist and making up voices here to actually have a podcast because I can't find any guests. So you can go over there. These people are real. I swear that's it. So today, and don't forget to subscribe over there on YouTube. Today's guest is Ryann Dowdy, and she is a sales expert who helps 7- and 8-figure CEOs generate daily sales on demand without more of their time by building and training high-performing sales team. Ryann is passionate about helping successful business owners take back control of the revenue in their business, their time, and their freedom by building a profitable sales team. With her business partner, Kelly Roach, they are on a mission to free CEOs from the role of salesperson in their business. Before starting her own business, Ryann spent 15 years in the corporate world building multi-million dollar sales organizations for startups in the digital marketing and advertising spaces. From sales rep to individual contributor plus sales director, Ryann has mentored, managed, and trained thousands of sales reps. Ryann's first crack at entrepreneurship was Uncensored Consulting, where she helped hundreds of women get from their first clients, leaving their day jobs, and taking back control of their lives by teaching tried and true sales strategies that aren't dependent on social media. Oh my gosh, I wish people would get more of that. Or trendy tactics. Ryann focuses on the art of building relationships and human-to-human connection. Now building her second business, she's on a mission to change the lives of CEOs by giving them back their time, financial peace, and the ability to multiply their revenue through high-performing, empowered sales teams. Wow. Welcome, Ryann.
Thank you, Juliette. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you because, as you know, when we talked from our relationship inside the Dames, we were both on the same page about reliance on social media and human-to-human contact. Those were one of those things where we resonated a lot. So I'm really excited to have you talk more about that. Your experience from Uncensored Consulting. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that and how it relates to what you're doing today, because I think there's a big thing here, a big gift that our entrepreneurs need to hear.
Yeah. Awesome. So, the Uncensored Consulting, helping brand new entrepreneurs, leave their 9-to-5 and build successful businesses came out of, so often as it does in our first business, it came out of my own personal story. Right? When I decided, I woke up one morning after a very successful career and was like, I don't want to do this for the next 30 years. Right. And then through networking and talking to people and having conversations, I kept finding armies of women just like me, smart, talented, hardworking, but struggling to build businesses. And I realized that there was this giant gap in the market on sales. Nobody was talking about sales, and there were definitely no women talking about sales. That's for darn sure. And so, it just kind of grew arms and legs. It's one of those things that, you are a mirror and you attract what you're putting out into the world. And I was just desperate to leave my day job. I had a baby. I was working around the clock. My husband and I were fighting all of the time about like whose responsibility was what. We were managing, and I was like, I can't do this forever. Like, this is terrible. This is the American dream. Like, I want out. And that's kind of how it started. And what I learned was like, even the most talented people that had excellent skills across the board, right? Business coaches, life coaches, health coaches, virtual assistants, social media managers, copywriters, Facebook ad strategists across the board who were just like, yeah, I don't know how to start a sales conversation. I don't know how to effectively run a sales call. I don't know how to handle objections. I don't know how to negotiate. I don't know how to set boundaries with clients. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I'm really good at that. So that's really where it started. And so I did that for about 2 years. It was incredible and exciting and fun. And then my business coach and I, both sales backgrounds, and we kept getting asked by our network of people, at that multiple 6 to 7 figure range in their business for help with their sales teams, right? It's like, you guys teach sales, like your sales teams are amazing. Can you help us do that for us? Like, where do you find those people? How do you train those people? And so for me, it was a very easy transition because it was what I did in the corporate world, right? I was training and building sales teams. That's just what I did. And it was a lot of fun. While I loved serving new entrepreneurs, and it was some of the most meaningful work I've done. I am really thrilled to be teaching people sales who want to learn it, because they're salespeople, right? Like, this is their career, and this is what they want to do, and they want to be good at it. And so it's really fun to lean into that, because I feel like I was kind of softening my message a little bit with the entrepreneurs, because as all of you listening know, you didn't realize sales was in the job description. So we kind of had to soften it, but now teaching salespeople, it's fun because I'm like, yeah, no, you chose this career and it's the best career in the world aside from entrepreneurship. And I'm pumped to be able to help you get better at it.
That is so true. And I think the journey that a lot of new entrepreneurs, coaches, and people that are working from home, first they get sucked into that digital aspect. Oh, you need a list. Oh, you need Facebook ads. Oh, you blah, 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 blah. And I can tell you more people waste tons of money on that. And the reason is it's not human to human, and sales is human to human. I trust you, Ryann. I'm validating what you say. Yeah, let's go ahead, especially big ticket items. So I can imagine having that first business was a little bit difficult for you because the new entrepreneurs don't understand that.
They don't. And it's what we're sold. Again, I fell victim to all of that. When I started, I was like, okay, this is what all the big wigs that are making boatloads of money tell me to do is start an email list and build a freebie and do all this other crap. And I tell people, I wasted almost an entire year, probably close to $15,000 in ads, freebies, designers, website development. Juliet, when I had not even spoken to a human yet, right? Right. And that's why I love ads. I have an email list, right? But none of those things, that's not the beginning. The beginning is go out, talk to people. What are the words that they use? How do they react when you talk about your business? What questions do they ask? What problems do they, how do they identify their problems? And I'll give you the perfect example. Because when I came onto the scene, I was like, I'm going to help new business owners drive revenue. And there is not a single virtual assistant in the world who wants to drive revenue. They want to sign clients and leave their day job, right? Right. Same thing. I don't do that crap. I just want to be home with my kids this summer, right? I want to not have to clock in and out. So learning that language, and you can't learn that through an email list. You can't learn that through Facebook ads. So really taking the time in the beginning to have those conversations, I think is awesome. So email list, Facebook ads, yes, those are incredible tools. I use them now in my business, but I use them as an experienced entrepreneur that knows what I'm trying to accomplish, not I hope and pray that these Facebook ads are effective enough to help me make enough money to quit my day job or to, whatever, send my kids to private school. I use them because I know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish with them. And I think that's a huge gap that a lot of people have.
Exactly. So I'm going to go back to that for a minute. I did the same thing, probably spent a little more than you did on it, but I can tell you guys that is the path to being a broke ass entrepreneur. And Amen. you guys know that that's what we don't do.
I started as a broke ass entrepreneur.
Yeah, I started as one too. And that was part of that is these strategies that didn't work. And I think, I know when we started using the quiz effectively and actually having conversations, that's exactly what you just described happened is now we were having conversations. Now we were figuring out the words and I am amazing at weeding out broke ass people now. I mean, I get on 5 minutes in, you know what? I'm not your person. And there is strength in that in sales. And I'm going to let you speak to that in a minute, in being able to get someone on the phone and know within minutes if they're your people or if they're not. It's not a matter of, are you going to hire me? It's, am I going to extend as the entrepreneur an invitation for you to hire me? So talk about that a little bit and how that relates to that human.
Absolutely. Well, so there's a couple of different things. You use the quiz as an opportunity to qualify, which is brilliant. Julia is brilliant. But some of us who don't have the technologically savvy to use the quiz, we're qualifying in the DMs and in connect calls. So like, I actually really encourage to qualify, right? You don't have time. Right? You're busy. You have 8 million things to do, and you don't have time to get on the phone with a bunch of broke people. You're not going to weed out everybody. The quiz isn't, the human to human qualification isn't. But for us, it's baseline information. We're getting on the phone with somebody, and if we just don't jive, it's done. And you can't do that through a funnel. Right? You cannot do that through a funnel. And what you wind up doing, and I literally was just reading a post in my mastermind Facebook group the other day of this woman. She bought a high ticket item, and 3 weeks in, she wants a refund. She's throwing a fit and all this other stuff, but she came through a funnel. The woman didn't get a chance to talk to her. I'm like, you probably could have cut that off at the pass had somebody spoken to her. Doesn't have to be you, right? Could be your sales team, but we're trying to avoid talking to people. If I get one more Facebook ad telling me to like, you can sell without ever having a sales call, I'm like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to work with people that no one on your team has spoken to, that nobody knows is a cultural fit for you, that nobody knows is the right fit for you, especially when you're selling high ticket? I don't want to sell a $20,000 offer to somebody and get a few months into it and find out it's not the right fit for either one of us. Like, that's a terrible place to be. So I think that conversations, that human to human connection and understanding what we're looking for. I think, again, that's why, screw the Facebook ads and the email list in the beginning, because you need to get clear on who you want, just as much as, you need to get clear as who needs your services.
Exactly. And you guys, I actually look for buzzwords as part of it. So probably Ryan and I could say that there are 20, 30, 40 people out there who do exactly what we do. But what's going to be that fit most of the time is your personality. Yep. And so when I have a call and I hear someone saying, it was so-and-so's fault, I didn't do it, or that, I know they're not an action person, not my people. So you really have to get that person who is a good fit. So I don't take on anybody who's not action. Like,
I agree. And my team actually knows that we are not allowed to bring on anybody who is like, well, yeah, I've hired like 3 or 4 coaches and none of it works.
Right. Yeah.
We don't make invitations to those people, but also, we teach sales teams. So anybody who's like, yeah, we don't do DMs. That's not our thing. I'm like, we are not changing those people's minds. Like, not our people. Right. And being okay with that. And I remember when I was early on in my journey, especially when I was working full time, trying to grow a business, I was pregnant, I was a hot mess. All I wanted was out of that job. Right. And it was so hard to hear people say that, like, stop forcing it, blah, 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 blah. But it will save you so much heartache by not trying to force it, by not trying to convince people who aren't your people to be your people, to solve your problem, which is I need to sign clients. Right. So I think it's knowing that, like, what are you not okay with as it relates to, your clients and how you're serving them and, what their problems are and what they've tried in the past to solve their problems, et cetera.
Exactly. And I think one of the key words in sales there is convincing. Once as an entrepreneur that you are convincing someone to buy, you've lost. You've lost the whole game of it. And I think that's what's really switched is I actually got into the digital, and then I realized that I needed to hire a sales coach because and you have to keep track of this stuff. This is another thing that I don't think people do well, Ryan, is who's coming into your space and speaking, and then how many of those people are you closing? What percentage? And is that you? Is it them? Do you need extra sales? And whether it's in the form of training for yourself or your team, you have to keep track of all those stats. And one of the things I realized probably later than I should have was when I just chat with people with no expectations of a sale, it happens. It's the gratitude, the resonate, and I'm just great. I'm grateful for the people that I don't take on. So think about that for a minute. I'm grateful for those people that I don't take on because I know they would have sucked up time and effort. So
I agree wholeheartedly on that. And the numbers are one of the hardest parts, especially for those of us as entrepreneurs. Because guys, I even after I've been selling now for 17 years, the numbers, the tracking, the KPIs, the metrics, I hate them. And I'm totally okay with saying that, but it's kind of like being finances aren't really my jam, so I'm just not going to track them, right? That's not how we build successful businesses, P&L, not my thing. It's not an option for us as business owners. And it's not an option for us as business owners, as salespeople to not know our numbers. Right. That's why people live on this feast and famine roller coaster and this high level of anxiety in their business because they don't know the formula to clients. Right? Which are the numbers that you were talking about. How many people am I bringing in? How many sales conversations am I booking? How many of those people are converting? And then why or why not is understanding those things, tweaking those things, fine tuning those things are what creates predictability in business, right? In big in big business land, Fortune 500, whatever, it's called a pipeline, right? It's called projections. And those are things that we should do. And we think because we're baby businesses or because we're online entrepreneurs, that we shouldn't track those things. But it is what really, we always say that structural equals freedom, right? If I know exactly what is required for every single client in my business, as far as activity, numbers, leads, et cetera, now I just have a formula that I can scale up and scale down based on needs, based on, I was literally just on a mastermind call last night where a girl was saying she doesn't really work that much in the summer. She works about 10 to 12 hours. She's got, that's Juliet. She's got teen, tween kiddos and they're super active in sports. They travel 8 to 12 times a summer so she's like, I just don't, but she knows how to scale it down. And then she knows when she's coming back in August, how to scale it back up because she knows her numbers. And again, it's not the sexy part. It's not the part anybody wants to talk about, but it is such an important part of creating that predictability in business and getting off of that feast and famine roller coaster as it relates to sales.
It is. And you guys, I'm going to give you a great example. I have a worksheet. I have to have 10 sales conversations a week, and I know my close rate. Last month, because I went on vacation the first 2 weeks of this month, last month I scaled that up and I made 2 months worth of revenue in 1 month. And guess what? Now I have no pressure this month. So that's exactly what you're talking about. I'm one of those as well who doesn't do much work in the summer. I love to golf, but I work my butt off during the winter. And when it's snowing.
You told me that. You're like, I live in Utah. I just lock myself in a house.
I do pretty much. Oh, I need groceries.
It's like I said, it's something that's not talked about enough with entrepreneurs. But again, you're not going to walk into, a Fortune 500 company that doesn't have these things dialed in, or at least on a piece of paper somewhere. They might not be executing it well, which is why I always
yes. So let's discuss here pipeline, because I just sort of described a little pipeline, but my first introduction to pipeline was in real estate. When I had 5 things in escrow, I was brand new. I was a rock star. But then while I was getting those things through escrow, I wasn't prospecting. So I got to the end, I got to the money. And that usually has about a 30 to 90 day close on it. So let's talk about that pipeline and how you keep that flowing.
So pipeline there's a million different words to describe pipeline. Some people use, the word funnel as well, not marketing funnel, not like landing page to email list to, OTO, blah, 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 none of the bro marketing funnel tactics. Sorry, Julian.
I love that bro marketing.
That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a true funnel, right? A sales funnel, which means, we put new leads into it, we move them through the funnel, and out the bottom comes sales opportunities. Right. And what Juliet just described is in her pipeline, everybody, her 5 opportunities were in escrow and there was nothing in the rest of the funnel, right? So we want to make sure that we're filling our pipeline every single day and building relationships so that we then can start closing deals consistently. So I see one of 2 things happen, Juliet, is we get super tunnel vision on lead gen and we dump a whole bunch of people into the top of the funnel and we never pull them through.
Right.
Or we pull through exactly your example, right? We pull through 5 or 6 deals and we never put anybody new in the top, right? So it is the balance of consistently inviting new people into your world, consistently booking sales conversations like Juliet does, and knowing your numbers. So it doesn't have to be a fancy piece of technology. You can track this in a Google Doc. We use Trello. It's very non-sophisticated. You could track it in a notebook if you're a solopreneur and that works for you, right? But it's this idea of we are consistently inviting new people into our world. We're nurturing those people. We're qualifying those people. And ultimately we're making invitations. And then again, what's really cool about the pipeline is the more that you execute this consistently, the more sales that you close, because, you might have a conversation with Sarah in July and she says, you know what, Juliet, I'm super excited, but my book's not going to be done till October. Game on, right? So now Juliet can file deal done for October, and then, this person says, you know what, I think this is going to be a January project, right? And so now we are building this pipeline. So now we can walk into October with, I know these 3 deals are going to close. And then, I might get a referral from somebody else. But that's what pipeline is about. It's about pipelining and being able to say, okay, I'm walking into every single month with opportunity because I'm building consistent relationships, ongoing as an active part of my business growth strategy.
Right. So let's talk about the referrals a little bit, because you and I are both in the Dames. It's a big referral source network. Yeah. Since 2016, I've built my business from about 50% referral to I'm literally 95% referral. I'm a little bit lazy. I share that with you guys all the time about not lazy. I'm really a go-getter, but I've gotten lazy about going out and getting my own new business because I haven't had to. So better this year. But talk about that in the sense of what do you do to keep that pipeline going with those referrals?
Absolutely. It's exactly what we do in the Dames. You keep talking to new people. I joined the Dames recently and I just got all my power partner introductions, which is what they do in the organization. Is you fill out a document and they say, hey, here's some people that I think work with similar people. These are great power partners for you, which potentially are referral partners, great relationships to have, et cetera, which is how Julia and I met. But I scheduled 12 calls yesterday with each one of those people, right?
Wow,
but
for you.
The thing is, it's not just one call, right? It's not enough to just be like, oh, I'm going to do a bunch of networking calls. It's the ongoing calls. It's the ongoing relationship. Juliet and I met a month ago. This is our 3rd conversation, right?
Wow,
no, she's like, when did I talk to you last?
You're calling me. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's about ongoing relationships. Right. And so I think that's how referrals keep going is continuing to work those relationships. So if you're newer in business and you don't have the referral partners, right, it's the front end of inviting new people in. If you are someone in Juliet's space where you're like, my primary source of leads is referrals. If I'm Juliet, I'm spending my time nurturing those referral partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. I'm booking the coffee chats. I'm sending the handwritten note. Hey, I just read this book. I thought you would find it brilliant. This totally made me think of our last conversation. I'm really taking the time to continue to nurture my referral partner relationships so my leads continue to come in.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. And I'm going to give you guys a hint about those referrals. I take up an extraordinary amount of time with my referrals because I want to know them as people. I work with power partners who have integrity and aren't fly by night. I want to know about their kids. I want to know Ryann was a college athlete. I want to know, there's all these things that we start knowing about each other. And it's not just, Ryann, are you giving me business this month? It's a friendship about, how, what's going on in people's lives. How can I help? You seem a little stressed. One of my partners, Melanie, we had a whole come to Jesus about her time. And that's all we did on a call. Was, how do we get your time streamlined so you can bring more business in? She's a busy stay-at-home mom with a business during COVID. So it can't just be, hey, Ryann, call once a month. Who are you going to give me business? Can you refer somebody to me? It's got to be a real relationship.
Oh, yeah. But that's with everything in sales, referral partners, right, collaboration partners, potential clients. And I think that's the mistake that we often make in the reason that sales feels really yucky to a lot of people, Juliet, is because we go out into the world, social media, networking groups, in person, online, doesn't matter. And we go out looking for clients. And I teach people to stop looking for clients and start building relationships, and the clients will come. But when we've got this tunnel vision of gotta find a client, it's a hot mess and it feels gross. It feels yucky. You feel yucky. And when you feel yucky, everybody else feels your yucky energy with you. Right. So if we stop at this, like, I'm going to sell something today. And guys, I'm a sales coach, for crying out loud. You know, instead of going out and saying, I'm going to sell something today, I'm going to go out and serve someone today, or I'm going to go out and make a friend today. And I know that sounds a little airy fairy. And I will tell you that 5 years ago, I probably would have been like, psh, you know, we just need to close some business. And there's days where that happens, right? But ultimately, if we focus on the relationships and we focus on the human on the other end of the Zoom call, the podcast, the wherever, however you're connecting, it will naturally happen through referrals, through introductions. You know, it's what you put, it's the law of reciprocity, right? It's what you put out into the world comes back. It might not come back through that one chat you had with Melanie where you helped her, whatever, but it's coming from somewhere. And we just have to trust the universe in that respect. And I know that that's wild to think about and not something that, as a very type A high performer, former athlete, I'm really good at like leaning into, but I'm getting there.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Cause you and I are both type A, totally type A. It is a process, you guys. If you had talked to me 5 years ago, I would, just like you, I would have been like, yeah, I'm just closing the sale. Now, the less detached I am to actually closing the sale, the more like this summer, it just keeps coming. And it's just, I'm summertime, I'm really detached. But when you can get to that point where it's like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and not worry about the money, not worry about all that other stuff, it really comes. And that might be our lesson for us type A people.
Right. And not to mention, I mean, again, not to totally go off course, the stress that creates, right? When it's all this pressure and all this energy, and that's kind of actually been my work for the past like 6 months or so, is really understanding like my nervous system and the stress that goes along with it, with being attached, right? Like what that creates, that low level of fight or flight all of the time. It's just not a good place to operate from. It's not good for you. It's not good for your loved ones. And again, I remember like sometimes when we have these conversations, Juliet, I'm so careful of them because I remember being new to business, and I remember getting so angry when people would say things like this, because I was like, well, that's easy for you to say, like your business is making $1 bajillion. Or for me, I've always been the breadwinner in my family. And so it was like, well, that's easy for you to say, like your business doesn't have to fly because, your husband is a doctor, like I used to always kind of have this like really frustrated energy about that. Right. But I wish that I had embraced it a little bit sooner. So for those of you that are listening, that are like, man, you two have, blah, blah, hey, we all started as beginners, right? You heard us both. Right. We both started as broke ass entrepreneurs because we did things all wrong. But it's like, know better, do better. And I think that that's really, really important to think about instead of vilifying that person. And I did. And I think that's probably why it took me so long to be successful in my business, because I was vilifying all the successful people around me because their circumstances were better or easier or whatever.
Right. And we all have obstacles in life. So my big tool to overcome that for you type A was gratitude journal. Like every day I write in it, what am I grateful for today? And what about you? Do you have a go-to tool, or you still like work in the system?
For me, it's time in nature, and it's I have to stop consuming, meaning like, I finally got to a point where I was like, I'm going to stop reading business books. I'm just going to read fiction. Right. That's what I'm on a mission this summer. Like I'm just reading fiction all summer long. Bad fiction too, Juliet. I'm not even going to tell you. It's bad. It's like Kindle Unlimited, like free book, bad fiction. And I'm just going to stop consuming. Right. Yeah. I started walking without my headphones in, right? Like, I'm not going to listen to a podcast, or I'm not going to listen to this, or I'm not even going to listen to music. I'm just going to listen to like the birds and what's going on in my neighborhood. I live on a golf course as well. Like there's always like stuff happening in my neighborhood, and just listening. So for me, those things, I mean, a gratitude journal is great, but I actually found gratitude journaling kind of got routine for me and didn't have that same like emotional connection. So for me, like getting outside, being in nature, walking without consuming, reading books that aren't trying to make me better in some capacity have really helped me recenter.
That is awesome. I go through that. I'll read business books. I do a lot of Audible since I read people's books all day. but I'll do Audible and I'll go through a book phase, like a business book phase, and then I'll be sick of them and I'll move. I love fiction. I love mystery novels. So, Ryann, where can we find you if we want to have more conversation with you about sales and how you can help people?
Yeah, absolutely. So our website is dailysalesondemandforceos.com. Instagram at Social Sellers Academy, or, my name is Ryann Dowdy. It's Ryann with 2 N's. I'm a very open networker. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. So feel free to send a connection request, a friend request. I love meeting new people and building relationships.
That's great. Thank you so much for being on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity and the conversation.